Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my very first character deep dive. Here we go. Over a year ago, I did a video called Why You Should Read the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. At that time, I talked about doing a deep dive on the character of Lisbeth Salander. As you can tell by the fact that I'm doing this video today, over a year later, that did not happen. So I'm going to do a deep dive on this character today. Please be advised that I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free, but it's a character deep dive, so there may be things that I will talk about that are going to be a little bit more spoilery. So if you don't mind that, or you've already read the books, stick around. If you don't want to take the chance, I totally get it, okay? And if you are interested in seeing more character deep dives from me, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Please remember, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. That all helps my videos get noticed, and it kind of feeds into that YouTube algorithm. You can also join my Discord, where we can talk more in depth about subjects that I talk about in my videos, okay? So here we go. We're going to talk about Lisbeth Salander. She is the main character of the Millennium Trilogy, which starts with book 1 being the girl with the dragon tattoo. And there are other characters in this series, of course, but she is the primary character. She is the namesake for the book, of course. She is the girl with the dragon tattoo. And it is a thriller series written by Stieg Larsson. He wrote about her in the first 3 books, which are The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. After he wrote those books, Stieg Larsson died, unfortunately, and the series continues under the writing of David Lagercrantz. Now, I have not read any of David Lagercrantz's books. I don't know personally if he does justice to the character. I have heard that it's not nearly as good as the writing of Stieg Larsson, so maybe one of these days I'll check them out. But I love the trilogy, and you should definitely go check it out. I'll link my video on why you should read that trilogy at the end of this video. But if you like a really, really good thriller novel with great character development, specifically for Lisbeth Salander, I recommend you check that out. I'm just going to kind of give an overview on her character. So let's go ahead and get right down to it, starting with the basics. Lisbeth Salander is in her mid-20s. I believe she's 24 in the first book, if I'm not mistaken. And she is a private investigator working independently for Milton Security. They call her in for special cases that they can't quite figure out or work out all the details on. She is bisexual and likely averse to monogamy. She does have 2 active partners in this story, both of whom pretty much know about each other. So there's no secrets there. And those lovers of hers are Mikhail Blomquist and Miriam Liu. She's highly eccentric and probably a genius. Her IQ is never necessarily talked about, but it's pretty clear from the story that she is quite brilliant, and she's also a chain smoker. Let's talk a little bit about her appearance. She does have a dragon tattoo that runs from her shoulder down her back to her left hip, or maybe it's from her left shoulder down her back to her right hip. I forget which it is, but yeah, in the movies the tattoo is much smaller. Just that for the sake of shooting they had to do it smaller, but yeah, her tattoo is quite large, and it encompasses a good portion of the backside of her body. She mostly wears black, although on occasion she is known to wear different colors. And her attire would probably be considered very grunge and punk style, very relaxed, but on occasion she is known to dress up as well. There are occasions in the story where she dresses extremely outlandish and bizarre as a way to create shock value. One scene in particular in the book, she dresses up with her hair done up in large spikes of a mohawk, and lots of facial piercing jewelry and things like that, chains on her outfit, because she wants to kind of play up the fact that most people assume about her that she always dresses that way because the media has made her out to be like that, and so she does it to play on that. It's quite comical. I got a lot of enjoyment out of watching her do that. And she does present outwardly as androgynous or non-binary. Now let's talk about her skill sets. She does have an eidetic or photographic memory, so her knowledge spans years and years of calculated information that she adeptly uses to her own ends, and it's quite fascinating to see that side of her. And she is a very skilled computer hacker working for Hacker Republic, which is a similar organization to the hacker group that our society knows as Anonymous. Her tagline is WASP. That's her hacker name, and she's extremely good at what she does. And she makes use of it throughout the books to cut off the trails to her existence. She is also extremely adept at passport forgeries and disguises, concealing her identity, becoming a ghost, essentially. One example that I thought was really hilarious is over the course of the story, she comes into a great deal of money as a result of some events that happen in the story. And I use the phrasing comes into a lot of money very loosely. But yeah, she is very adept at forging identities and making things disappear like money. So now let's talk about her personal and or psychological profile. And I think this, out of all the aspects of who Lisbeth Salander is the most fascinating and complex part of reading the books. This is what really holds your attention throughout the whole story. Because even though there is an overarching plot to the story, this is really a deeply personal story about her. She is a chaotic person. She seems to thrive on chaos and creating disorder. She is also extremely antisocial. She is an anarchist, especially socially. She can be very capricious at times. Her mood can change frequently. And she is scandalous. She enjoys shock value. She thrives on shock value at times. She is oftentimes very brazen and brash. She would be considered a sociopath, high functioning or low functioning depending on the circumstances. So that's very situational for her. She has a deep-seated hatred for predators, especially men who abuse women. She witnessed a lot of abuse upon her mother as a child, and she was also abused as a child. And at one point she went so far as to attempt to kill the abuser. And so she has likely developed a lot of PTSD as a result of those traumatic events of her childhood. And she is a sadist when it comes to vengeance. She has no problem hurting people that she hates. One example is a caseworker who was assigned to her case who forces her to do things sexually. And oh, the things that she did to him. Reading those things on the page, you're cheering her on, and at the same time you're cringing because of just how horrifying they are. But the things that he did to her are horrifying as well. There's a chaotic sense of justice there that comes into play. I would say that there are definitely some trigger warnings for her character arc. One is emotional and psychological trauma, PTSD. Rape does play a big part, especially in book one, so I would definitely put that out there as a trigger warning for you. There is a lot of sex in general in her character arc and language and things like that, so definitely some things to be aware of. But I have to say that Lisbeth Salander's character is one of the most fascinating characters I have read in any fiction novel. She is one of my absolute favorite characters of all time. I just am constantly thinking about her story. It really made an impact on me. And some of the things that I really love are just the fact that she is so independent. She is so driven to be completely herself at the cost of relationships and at the cost of rules. She is definitely not a play by the rules person. And I just absolutely loved her commitment to be completely herself and play by her own rules. That is one of the many things that just makes her a fascinating character. So I hope this has been helpful for you to see if this is a series that you want to pick up, and maybe you've never heard of Lisbeth Salander or the Millennium Trilogy at all. If you haven't, you're sorely missing out. It is a phenomenal series, and if you're interested, you can also check out the movies. There were several movies done. The original trilogy of movies, based on each of the three books, was originally released in Sweden, so it is in Swedish. You can watch it with either dubs or subs, I think. I watched it with subtitles, and it was very, very well done. Very true to the books, I felt. There were a few changes, but overall it was very good. That trilogy of movies featured Noomi Rapace as the character of Lisbeth Salander, as well as Tahila Blad in the role of young Lisbeth Salander. There was a movie made in the States in 2011. Rooney Mara played Lisbeth Salander in that movie, co-starring with Daniel Craig in the role of Mikhail Blomkvist. And then in 2018, they started making a series of movies based on the David Lagercrantz novels, featuring Bo Gladstone in the role of Lisbeth Salander. Editing Chaz here. Bo Gladstone is actually the young Lisbeth Salander in The Girl in the Spider's Web. Claire Foy actually plays the older Lisbeth Salander in the movie, so she is the main Lisbeth Salander for that movie. That's my correction. Now back to the video. I have not seen that one. I have seen the 2011 version with Rooney Mara. It was also very good, I thought. I still prefer, if I had my pick, I still prefer the original Swedish movies. I think it's the best way to watch the story on the screen, and that's what I would recommend. But the one from 2011 is also very good, and I may or may not watch the newer movie that came out in 2018. I think that was called The Girl in the Spider's Web, if I'm not mistaken. So Lisbeth Salander is a fascinating character. I want to know in the comments, have you read the Millennium Trilogy? Have you seen some of the movies? What are your thoughts on the character? What do you like? What do you not like about her character? Is there anything that bothered you? Is there anything that really stuck out to you? And maybe you have not watched the movies or read the books, and now you're intrigued. Let me know that too. Let me know what it is that makes you interested to learn more about her character. As I said at the beginning, this is my first character deep dive. If you would like to see more of these kinds of videos from me, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear that. And until next time, make sure you read more books. I'll talk to you soon.